So my last video was about my history in SeaWorld San Diego with the orcas in there, but I left a lot out, mainly concerning my experiences, what I've witnessed and focused on when I've been in shows. But before I get to that, I just want to clear something up, a couple things actually. I don't want anybody to think that Corky and I have some kind of telepathy going on or secret language. Mainly, our friendship is meeting, greeting, and just so happy to see each other. I mean, we are connected, but I've had a total of 4 out of the ordinary experiences with her, all of them very satisfying and rewarding. One of them left me completely sapped and drained, but because of it, I now have friendships and connections to Makani and Shuka, and I have Corky to thank for that. Also, I misspoke when I talked about Kalia and Amaya. It didn't take almost 2 years for them to stop clicking and whistling to each other. It took just about a year. And they used a mother and daughter's love for each other to do it. Every time they would click and whistle to each other, they would be split up for days on end. They'd bring them back together. If they click and whistle to each other, they would split them up again. So the message was, if you want to be with your daughter, if you want to be with your mother, you will not click and whistle. And it took that newborn, that little baby, about a year to learn it. There's another example of how wonderful these people in SeaWorld are. So once SeaWorld decided to rewrite their history, I once again went back into shows. And when I would go, I would pick things to focus on. I have 2 shows that I recorded in full. They're not on my YouTube channel. They're on my timeline. In 2018, I believe. But when I would go in there, this is what I would focus on. I would focus on how many trivia questions are up on the screen before showtime about the SR Orcas. How much time during a show, when they're showing footage of orcas on the big screen, how much of it is of the SR Orcas? How many dangerous tricks are the orcas doing now to show you education? Because the trainers aren't in the water with them anymore. It's just the orcas. How many of these educational tricks are truly educational, or are they just old tricks dressed up as something new? And finally, how many times do they say the word Noah during a show? That's what I have focused on in there when I've gone in there. So I can tell you that 2 or 3 questions before showtime, 2 of these trivia questions, are about the SR Orcas. About 70% of the time when they're showing you orcas up on that big screen, they are of the SR Orcas. These people at SeaWorld have a thing about SR Orcas. They really do. And it's another reason why Shamu had to be taken away, because she was an SR Orca. All right? When it comes to dangerous tricks, since I've been back, there was only one truly dangerous trick, and it was done by Corky. Regardless of her age, her cataracts, and whatever else they say is wrong with her, she was the one doing it. And I actually have it on video, and I put it to a poem for her. It's called Corky the Orca. That is on my YouTube channel. It's even on my playlist. The actual poem was called Lonely. And she would make these 2 jumps really close. to the left side of the tank and the right side of the tank. And on this particular day, when I took this footage, on her second jump on the right side, you can see her brush her back and part of her dorsal against the glass. It was scary. But after that day, I never saw her do that trick again, nor have I ever seen another orca do it. It was gone. All right. As far as these tricks, I can tell you, I can vouch and say this unequivocally. Every single one of them are tricks from old shows. None of them are new. None of them have anything to do with education. None of them. First of all, there's absolutely no reason to put 3 or 4 orcas up on that front platform, or have an orca get up on the back platform and pose. None of them needs their weight on those platforms at all. When they have them in the spy hopping position and twirling around, they tell the audience that's the orcas looking for prey. It is not. When they have them do front flips, back flips, it's educational because it's showing their agility. I mean, give me a break. When they are using their pectoral fins or their tails to splash little kids or splash the audience, it's supposedly showing you how they discipline their children. And then there's the porpoising thing, where they, hop together down the front, in front of the audience. And supposedly that's how they're in hunting position. It isn't. So all of this is just a lot of crap, and it's old tricks dressed up as education. And the crazy thing is how willing the public is to buy it and believe it. And I think it's because of, at the end of every show, Noah is mentioned 2 or 3 times. So that crowd, right at the end of showtime, is being told that Noah has their big fat stamp of approval all over this. It makes a difference, having an organization as, and a federal agency as big as NOAA behind you. I mean, it's got to be true, right? And then there was the day that I went in there, and really, I mean, anytime I go on, and if Corky's there in the dino tank, she comes to greet me. That's it. End of story. And this one day, she would not come. The blue igloo that really is full of food was sitting there, and her and a male could not and would not take their eyes off of it. And it didn't matter how many times I called her name. She would not move. So I knew something had to be terribly wrong. And after 15 minutes, and I do have this on tape. I have it videoed. But there's so much glare, it's really, really hard to see. If you want me to post it, I will. If you want me to upload it, I will. But anyways, I go into the show, and guess who the 2 orcas are that are performing that day? There's only 2 for a 25-minute show. Corky and Ike. I didn't recognize the male. I knew it wasn't Keat, no Tootsie Roll Tail. I knew it wasn't Yuli because there was no raking. But this orca had a fully collapsed dorsal fin. And I even say, is that Akaika? Is that Ike? But I couldn't believe it was. Because 6 or 8 months before, his dorsal wasn't completely collapsed. But it was. In that short a time. That was the day I got so angry I had to get out of there. I had to leave. So, they starved them. They lived these lives of deprivation and cruelty. And Corky is given almost 35 years of her life to that place. And she really is, she's like this gentle giant. I mean, she's gotten huge over the decades that she's been in there. But even now, still, when they have new people come in to be trained as trainers, they send them to Corky because she is so gentle and intelligent and compassionate. And that compassion has extended to so many of the other orcas over the decades. Right now, to the bullied orcas, like Makoni, to the new orcas that have come into SeaWorld, like Shuka, to the abandoned orcas, like Ike, to the orphaned orcas, like Orchid. She really, those are her buddies. That's her little tiny pod. But they're not a family. She's close to them, but they're not a family. She's the only in our orca in captivity, and she is the longest held orca in captivity. And I hope one day, after 35 years, they'll let her go home. I hope they let them all go to seaside sanctuaries. I don't know how that's going to happen, but I hope it does. In the meantime, I will still go to the performance tank before showtime, to the dine with tank before showtime. I really don't want to take, videos of any more shows. I think I've taken more than enough pictures of them. I try to keep it at a minimum. But if it's needed, I'll do it. But I just want to go back to what I've done all these decades. Just hang out with them. Just try to love them and understand them. And that is my history in total with the orcas at SeaWorld San Diego. Thank you.